Good evening, you're now with me, Lorenzo Isaac, for TVS Nightline. We begin with this story. His Majesty the King Sultan Ibrahim has granted an audience to Sarawak Premier Datuk Pendingin Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg at Istana Pasir Pelangi in Johor Bahru earlier today. According to a post on His Majesty's official Facebook page, the meeting lasted nearly an hour. Also present were Johor Menteri Besar Dato' On Hafiz Ghazi, Sarawak State Secretary Dato' Amar Muhammad Abu Bakar Marzuki and Johor State Financial Officer Dato' Muhammad Nur Azam Osman. The statement did not disclose the specific matters discussed during the audience. Sarawak Deputy Premier Dato' Amar Douglas UGGAH says the public and political parties can still submit feedback on the Election Commission's proposed electoral boundaries. UGGAH, who is also PBB Deputy President, stresses that the official public display period is specifically designed to allow voters to review recommended constituencies and lodge formal objections directly with the EC.
No, when there's a display of the area that's recommended by the by the Election Commission, there is a room for putting up your views.
UGGAH was responding to calls from Parti Rakyat Sarawak Youth Chief Christopher Gira Sambang for a new state seat named Bukit Arip in Selangau. Gira cited Selangau's expansive area of over 9,000 square kilometers and population of 80,000 residents spread across 750 longhouses as justification for creating the seat. When asked about a leaked document detailing proposed boundary adjustments across 31 parliamentary constituencies, UGGAH declined to comment, stating he had not yet reviewed the reports. The leaked material outlines proposed new seats in locations including Mas Gading, Santubong, Putrajaya, Stampin, Bandar Kuching and Kota Semarahan in addition to Bukit Arip.
Meanwhile, Parti Pesaka Bersatu Bumiputra Information Chief Datuk Sri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah is questioning the Election Commission's timing in initiating the electoral redelineation exercise for Sarawak 17 proposed new state seats. Karim warns that procedural delays may prevent the new constituencies from being implemented before the State Legislative Assembly automatically dissolves in February 2027. His comments follow the Election Commission's issuance of official notices dated August 5th, following a recent online leak outlining boundary changes to increase state seats from 82 to 99.
At a press conference today, Karim expressed concern over whether legal requirements and public objection periods could be completed in time. Although the motion for 17 new seats was passed by the DUN in July 2025, it still requires EC completion and parliamentary approval to take effect. Despite criticizing the timing, Karim reaffirmed that the proposal is critical to ensure proper representation across Sarawak's vast geography. He emphasized that extreme travel times within expansive rural constituencies create severe logistical challenges for elected representatives trying to serve constituents.
But my hope is kalau dapat kita mau kerusi itu. Bukan kerana kita nak notok, kerana Sarawak adalah sebuah negeri yang besar. Satu sebesar dengan tanah Melayu. Kerana tanah Melayu kita ada berapa buah negeri sana, berapa banyak kerusi Dewan Undangan Negeri. Kecil saja, 10 minit sudah habis sempadan ujung sempadan tu ke sempadan non jalan. Kita di Sarawak, satu Dewan Undangan Negeri boleh sama besar dengan satu negeri di semenanjung Malaysia. Jadi untuk sebab itulah kita nak penambahan kerusi supaya rakyat lebih dapat kemudahan untuk menyuarakan apa-apa masalah dalam kawasan. YB yang menjadi adun pun dapat turun padang. Silah nak pergi ke satu tempat tu sampai 10 jam, 15 jam. That is why we are doing it. There's nothing hidden agenda di belakang itu.
Karim reiterates that Gabungan Parti Sarawak GPS under Premier Datuk Tinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg will determine its own timing to dissolve the State Assembly.
Sarawak is stepping up its gastronomy tourism efforts through the Borneo Culinary World Cup BCWC 2026 as part of its drive to position the state as a world-class culinary destination. Deputy Premier Dato' Amar Dr. Sim Kui Hian says Sarawak's rich culinary heritage, shaped by its diverse ethnic communities, gives the state a strong competitive edge on the global stage. The event plays a critical role in raising awareness on food safety standards and strengthen public health practices across Sarawak's food service industry.
When our local chefs are graded side by side with judges of this experience, the standard that observed here do not stay inside this hall. They go back into their own kitchen, their own businesses, and eventually onto the plates of every family in Sarawak.
Sim, whose speech was read by the Mayor of Kuching South City Council and BKS, Dr. Wee Hong Sang, adds close collaborations between local authorities, industry players, and the community is key to the event's success. The 3-day competition, which runs from today until August 7th, has brought together about 500 participants from some 40 countries.
Sarawak is now described as an electro-petrol state following its success in combining the strength of its petroleum industry with renewable energy development and AI to drive the state's green economy. State Deputy Minister for Energy and Environmental Sustainability, Dr. Hazlan Abang Hipni, says the recognition reflects the state's success in building a green-nomics-based economy through the PCDS 2030. He notes that the policy is built on 3 main pillars, namely environmental sustainability, economic prosperity, and social inclusivity, while also driving the development of clean energy and the digital economy.
Sarawak is also both a petroleum producing state. It is also an electron producing state through our rich resources, especially hydropower, solar, synthetic fuels. Now we are going into methanol, we are going into hydrogen, and we are going into biomass, and we are going into CCUS.
He further adds that the ministry also puts in place 4 key frameworks covering regulatory, technical, financial, and human capital development to accelerate the implementation of green energy initiatives in Sarawak. He assures that Sarawak continues to strengthen its position as a digital economy hub through the development of data centers powered by renewable energy. At the same time, he says the state is also exploring AI-based grid systems as a more sustainable alternative as they reduce the impact on the environment, the economy, and communities compared with conventional data centers.
So the AI is already in the grid system, and anybody who uses the facility will pay by tokens. So that is a much better system and less damaging to the environment and also to the economy and to the people.
Malaysia Aviation Group has been directed to strengthen its background screening and health assessment for pilots and co-pilots following the recent detention of a Malaysia Airlines co-pilot in Jakarta. Communications Minister Datuk Sri Fahmi Fadzil says the matter was raised to the Cabinet by the Home Affairs and Transport Ministries, which have outlined several measures for immediate implementation.
Pihak Malaysia Airlines Group juga akan diminta untuk menyemak semula protokol saringan latar belakang dan juga saringan kesihatan bagi juruterbang ataupun para pilot dan pembantu juruterbang, co-pilot, mengambil kira insiden yang telah berlaku. Selain dari itu, pasukan PDRM dan juga AKPS diminta untuk meneliti aspek-aspek yang mungkin boleh disalahgunakan, termasuk kelompangan, loopholes yang mungkin ada, dan ini perlu ditutup segera dan diuruskan.
One of the measures being considered is deploying PDRM personnel to oversee aviation security, which is currently managed by auxiliary police officers. Recently, a 39-year-old Malaysian pilot was detained in Indonesia for allegedly attempting to smuggle meth and more than 70,000 ecstasy pills weighing 26 kilograms into the country. The pilot was detained after customs officers detected suspicious items through an X-ray scan at Terminal 3 of the Soekarno-Hatta International Airport. Meanwhile, the government has yet to discuss a proposal to re-establish a special task force to tackle high-profile crimes following a rise in cross-border drug trafficking and organized crime. Fahmi says the matter will be referred to the Home Affairs Ministry as the government has only received a verbal briefing on the incident. He adds that a full report is needed to identify any other parties involved before the government decides on any further action.
Sabah Customs Department successfully busted 5 smuggling cases involving controlled goods, subsidized items and duty unpaid cigarettes worth 662,000 ringgit including duties under the Joint Task Force JTF 2026 operation. Director Ahmad Taufik Sulaiman says the joint operation with Indonesia's Bea Cukai running from July 13 to August 14 covered Tawau, Kota Marudu, Papar and Sanakan, with 2 local men in their 40s arrested in Tawau.
He says the total value of these seized goods reaches more than 449,000 ringgit, while the estimated duties and taxes amount to more than 213,000 ringgit. Meanwhile, the largest seizure took place in Tawau on July 27th after customs officers inspected 2 panel vans, 2 box lorries, a speedboat and a 15-ton wooden boat at an illegal jetty.
Kita barang-barang ini barang kawalan. Walaupun kita boleh beli di supermarket, tetapi dia untuk market tempatan. Jadi untuk dibawa ke luar, dia tidak boleh. Ada barang-barang yang bukan barang kawalan. Jadi custom dia membantu menguasakan akta barang kawalan di bawah KBDN.
Meanwhile, separate raids in Tawau uncovered nearly 50,000 untaxed cigarettes worth more than 70,000 ringgit inside an abandoned boat in the waters of Kampong Hidayat. The cases are investigated under Section 135, subsection bracket 1 of the Customs Act 1967.
President Donald Trump is still pressuring Iran to participate in the latest series of talks involving various parties in West Asia. If Iran does not comply, he repeated his threat that Iran will be hit hard. Meanwhile, discussions between Oman and Iran are reportedly going smoothly to establish an alternative route at the Strait of Hormuz, but faces delays due to US interference. More on this with Yusuf Shukri.
Thank you, Lorenzo. As you've said, Trump repeated his threat against Iran if it refuses to take part in the latest negotiations for a quote-unquote peace deal. And this peace deal would include the reopening of the critical waterway, the Strait of Hormuz. If Iran refuses, the US, he says, will hit them hard.
The strait's going to be open very soon, or they're going to get hit very hard, and then the strait's going to be open. We were going to a tremendous attack, the biggest since World War II. And they called me and said, very politely, please, can we talk? Can we talk? They didn't want. And I said, yes, we can talk. Let's get it done. Finally, let's get it done.
However many times Trump claims that they have the upper hand, this temporary halt in strikes indicates that the US is losing its firepower. In fact, various reports on both mainstream and independent media have cited that the US has been low on its global stockpile during the early stage of the war. Hence the need to temporarily halt strikes on Iran before carrying out a surprise attack when the time is right. On a related note, U.S. interference as well as threats by Trump are the reasons for delays in reaching an agreement with Oman on new navigation arrangements for the Strait of Hormuz. A source told Iran's Sepah News that as long as there are interference, especially the threat of a military attack on Iran, the agreement will be delayed. The source added that Iran will not reach any agreement under the shadow of threats. And this statement came a day after a senior Iranian official told Press TV that Tehran and Muscat had entered, quote, a new phase of negotiations aimed at establishing a shipping corridor to ensure the safe passage of commercial vessels through the strategic waterway. The official says an understanding with Oman was within reach if the U.S. stopped interfering in the talks. The official also accused Trump of seeking to influence the negotiations and claim credit for any agreement, saying his actions had slowed the process. The proposed corridor is intended to safeguard Iran's sovereign rights as a littoral state while ensuring the safe transit of commercial vessels, according to the official. Meanwhile, Yemen's Houthi claims that it had struck a Saudi oil tanker named Wafa in the northern Red Sea off the coast of Yanbu. The group's military spokesperson Yahya Sari, during a press conference, says it hit the tanker accurately.
ومع نجاح القوات المسلحة اليمنية بفضل الله في إحكام الحصار البحري على العدو السعودي من باب المندب جنوبي البحر الأحمر، اتجه العدو السعودي لتحويل مسار سفنه النفطية باتجاه شمالي البحر الأحمر. فإن القوات المسلحة اليمنية تؤكد على أن عملياتها ستستمر وتتصاعد في استهداف السفن النفطية السعودية شمالي البحر الأحمر لإغلاق المنافذ كافة عليه ومنعه من العبور لتثبيت معادلة الحصار بالحصار مهما كانت النتائج والتداعيات.
Now, since the blockade's implementation on July 22nd, Yemen has struck 8 Saudi oil vessels. The total number of Saudi oil vessels that have been prevented from sailing and forced to turn back in the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea has reached 29. Now, the Strait of Hormuz remains an important waterway for the global oil supply, and prices of crude oil continue to spike in record-breaking rates. Qatar Emir Sheikh Tamim Hamad Al Thani is currently mediating tensions between Washington and Tehran via phone calls. More updates, TV Sarawak.my and TVS Inspire. Lorenzo, you're up.
Thank you, Yusuf. Moving on, at least 17 people were killed and dozens more wounded after Russian missile and drone strikes hit Kiev and its surrounding region overnight. Ukraine says it was unable to shoot down a single one of the missiles fired, as Kiev renews its appeal for more US-made Patriot interceptors.
Explosions were heard across Kiev after midnight, following Air Force warnings of incoming ballistic missiles. By sunrise, a cloud of smoke hung over the capital after the strikes sparked fires in several locations. Local authorities say more than 40 people were wounded in the capital and surrounding areas. Officials at the strikes mainly targeted warehouses, with some hitting infrastructure and a railway station. 8 people died in the strike on the station alone.
Желание спрятаться не просто в каком-то подвале, а уехать из Киева и как можно скорее, чтобы этот ужас, кошмар прекратился, потому что невозможно ни спать, ни работать. Жить просто стало невозможно в Киеве. Из Украины выезжать абсолютно не хочется, когда гонят тебя из твоей...
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says better air defenses could have prevented the deaths. Zelensky has warned Ukraine faces critical shortages of air defenses as Russia increases its use of ballistic missiles.
Following accusations of being an ally to Israel, Indonesia on Tuesday has come forward to condemn Israel's continued attacks on Gaza and urge for an immediate ceasefire. Via its foreign ministry, the nation states the indiscriminate killing violates international law and deliberately undermine the implementation of the Gaza peace plan and worsen the suffering of Palestinians. Jakarta urged Israel to permanently cease its offense, fully comply with its obligation under relevant UN Security Council resolutions, and honor all commitments under the ceasefire agreement in accordance with international law.
Just last week, the Peace Board and US President Donald Trump announced an agreement to implement the next phase of the Gaza ceasefire, with the board saying Hamas had accepted a detailed roadmap. Indonesia welcomed the reported acceptance by Hamas and other Palestinian factions. The statement read, Indonesia reaffirms its unwavering commitment to supporting a credible political process leading to the realization of an independent and sovereign state of Palestine based on the two-state solution. This, it adds, is in accordance with relevant UN resolutions and internationally agreed parameters. Jakarta also urged all parties to come together and ensure full protection of Palestinians, medical personnel, and humanitarian workers, as well as unhindered delivery of humanitarian aid. To date, Israel has killed more than 73,000 people and wounded over 174,000 others since October 2024. Despite various ceasefires, including the one reached in October 10, 2025, the Zionist regime proceeded with the genocide, killing 1,250 Palestinians, while 4,110 others were injured and thousands others left unaccounted.
We end the Nightline tonight with this special feature. In Japan, a designer is turning soil and compost into electricity, lighting up hundreds of LEDs in a glowing test lab halfway up a hill. Critics say the technology is far from practical, but its inventor believes it could still play a role in solving the world's growing energy problem.
Glinting in the night on a hillside in the remote Japanese town of Hitachi-Ota, a greenhouse-like test lab called Kuan glows with light from 800 LEDs. The power source, 1,500 wooden boxes filled with soil and compost. Behind the project is designer Satoshi Nakagawa, CEO of design firm Tripod Design, who has spent years developing what he calls micro-power collection, a method of drawing tiny but steady electrical currents from everyday materials, even wine and French bread.
いわゆるフォーカスとしてというかビジョンとしては、我々が今研究している土や建築の残土とかマイクロプラスチックスから電気が出せるような技術、小さな電気でありますけど、それが何らかの形で世の中で例えばノーブラックアウトに何か支援できるとか、災害の時の一つのコミュニケーションのためのセラフォンをチャージできるとか。
The system works on the same principle as a voltaic pile, the world's first continuous current battery invented by Alessandro Volta in 1799. Electrodes made of materials like zinc and copper are inserted into substances containing moisture or ions to generate power. Nearby is a second, larger installation called Luan, which opened last year, using about 2,000 plastic cylinders of soil and compost to produce 100 watts of output, enough to power a rice cooker and other small appliances. Nakagawa says the technology could be put to use in areas without power, including after natural disasters.
一つは具体的に何か本当に困ってる人たち、アフリカでやっぱり、例えば子供を産むのに電気がないとか、夜なんで子供たちが勉強したいのにライトがないんだとかですね。それから震災が起きた時に、家族に連絡を取りたいのに携帯電話が動かせない。
As the world's population moves toward 10 billion, Nakagawa says energy will become as critical an issue as food.
僕に近づこうとする人口を食料問題とともにエネルギーの問題も非常に重要になって で AI になってくればデータ上で大変な電力がいる、そういう時小さな助けかもしれないですけども、皆さんが身の回りの土を使って自分で電気を作るっていう。
But not everyone is convinced of its practicality. Critics say the system's output falls far short of regular or car batteries. Nakagawa has shrugged off the skeptics, saying engineers should focus on building new products that make the most of micropower collection rather than dismissing it. For now, the glow of Kuan and Luan remains more experiment than solution. But for its inventor, every watt drawn from the soil is a step toward rewriting how the world thinks about power.
Get all the updates you need all in one app. TVS Inspire brings you live updates on events, news and programs. Available now on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. TVS Inspire will on your screen anytime, anywhere. Those were the updates on TVS Nightline. I'm Lorenzo Isaac. Thank you for watching and have a good night.